Hello everybody, what's up? Welcome back. Today we're doing a Berkeley Q&A from all of you guys asking me questions over on my Instagram and also just through DMs, all of that, and I wanted to make a video just to address my most commonly asked questions all at once. For those of you that are new here, my name is Seneca. I'm a junior at UC Berkeley, and definitely subscribe to my channel if you want to see more Berkeley related content, college content, and study tips, all of that. You can also follow me over on Instagram so that you can participate in future videos like this one. And lastly, don't forget to like this video for more like this. Woo! So with that, let's just get right into it. So a few days ago, I asked you guys via Instagram stories to send me any questions you had about Berkeley, and you guys really came through. Thank you so much to everyone that sent me them. So to start it off, the first question I got asked, and this was something that I also was really concerned about that I haven't talked about in other videos, is was it hard to get the classes that you wanted? And so a lot of you guys might know that Berkeley is a huge school. There's about I think 40,000 people total, including graduate students. So it can be a little difficult, to think about that. It's gonna mean that classes might be harder to get. However, this, in my experience, is actually completely false. I have found it pretty chill, pretty easy to get the classes that I wanted. Keep in mind that you will have to be flexible though, because you might not be able to get the exact discussion section you wanted or the exact lab section. You might have to compromise and take it at a different time of the day or a different time of the week. Very rarely though have I ever heard of anyone who's had to delay a class to another semester, or even worse, I guess, delay graduation because they couldn't get the class that they wanted. So I would just say, if you're really concerned about this, make sure that when you're planning your schedule, you have a few different options that you would be okay with. So for example, usually lab classes are a little bit more impacted just because they have a lot smaller section sizes, but I would have at least 3 different schedules you would be okay with. So that might be having lab on a Wednesday night, or having lab on a Monday morning, or having lab on a Friday afternoon, just to make sure that you do maximize your chances of getting into your classes and make sure that you have a backup in case you need one. Obviously, getting into those classes is going to get a lot easier once you're a junior and a senior. For example, right now, a lot of my classes are around 100 people or less, and I did not have any problems getting into them because I am declared as an MCB major, and also because those classes are smaller, but there's also less interest in them because it's a more specialized course. For genetics, obviously, people in cell biology aren't going to be taking the same genetics course that people who are studying genetics are taking, so it's a lot easier because automatically that pool of people wanting to take the class is just smaller. The second question that I heard a lot of was just general tips for incoming freshmen, and I think that it's definitely hard because it is a general question, but my most important tip that someone had told me before my freshman year was to take minimum units your first semester if you can. So the minimum unit count varies by college. I think for College of Letters and Science it's about 13, and then I think engineering and College of Natural Resources is 12. I'm not sure about the other colleges, but you can find them on the website pretty easily, and your advisors will also tell you. This is really important just because you can take more than minimum units, but taking minimum units allows you to really see at baseline what the workload could be like. One thing that I also think it's important to say though is that unit count doesn't necessarily correlate to workload. For example, I've taken some classes that are 2 units and the workload is insane. It's a lab class, so I have to do lab reports. It's a lot of class time. But I've also taken classes that are 4 units where I pretty much just go to class and maybe do 1 assignment per week, and that's it. So definitely talk to people in your major, talk to your advisors, really see what the workload is like apart from the unit count. However, that being said, I recommend that freshmen take minimum units your first semester and then join maybe 1 or 2 extracurriculars just to meet more people who are interested in things that you're also interested in or who have similar backgrounds as you. And that way you can kind of see if that is going to be a work-life balance that works for you. And if it's not, you can always adjust it depending on your needs after that semester. I like to reevaluate at the end of every semester. That's definitely my biggest tip workload wise. And then also this one I think is very, very much overshared when it comes to freshmen, but it's true, it works. it is to really be as outgoing as you possibly can your first few weeks of college, especially if you're in person and in the dorms. I am not an outgoing person by nature, and this one was kind of scary for me, so I really had to put in a lot of extra effort to go up to people, introduce myself and all of that. But it is worth it to be outgoing your first few weeks because no one has a group yet. There's still so many people to meet, and that way you can really maximize your chances of finding people who could be your friends. And you never know where you're going to meet friends. For example, my current roommate and I actually met in the dining hall, and I think I just went up to her and sat by her and we just started talking, so you really never know. So another question that I got asked a ton was kind of relating to safety, and that was just which dorm is best safety wise, and then also like specifically between unit 2 and unit 3. So I think that all of the dorms are pretty similar safety wise, especially the units, just because they are in such similar locations. But that being said, you always are going to want to use common sense in an urban environment like Berkeley, and so that might be carrying pepper spray, especially at night, and walking with friends whenever you can, calling the Bear Walk service, which I'll have linked below, which is basically where a community service officer who is also a student will escort you to your dorm or to the library, really wherever you need to go. There's also night safety shuttles that you can take at night that will literally do like door-to-door service past a certain point. So I just would really recommend having caution, making sure you're aware of your surroundings, don't wear headphones at night, and also beyond that, you know, making sure your doors and windows are locked, especially at night. I think that obviously being in an urban environment, you always will be hearing things, but there are steps you can take to really keep yourself as safe as possible. And with that being said, I think that all of the dorms are roughly equivalent in terms of safety, especially between the units, because they are literally like the same layout, same kind of buildings. Our fourth question was, do you get used to the amount of people on campus all the time? Yes, you do. I think though it's gonna be really weird in the fall when people are on campus and it's like the first time for a lot of the freshmen and the sophomores being in that environment, and then also for like juniors and seniors coming back to that. It's gonna be so weird to be back after a whole year of being at home. But yes, you do get used to it. I think that the first day, the first week probably is a little bit daunting just because you're weaving between people on your way to class, and especially when you're going to sit down in a large lecture hall, you're gonna be like maybe tripping over backpacks trying to get past people to sit with your friends, but it's okay, honestly. I think that what I would say, what me and my roommate freshman year did to kind of help us get acclimated before all the other people came onto campus was the day before school started, we both had our schedules out on our phones, and we're kind of trying to find the specific classrooms where our classes were the next day. And that was really helpful because then when there's a ton of people there, we were like, okay, well, at least I know I need to go in this direction. I need to go to this building. And it was a lot easier to navigate with the added craziness of having about like 30,000 plus people on the campus. Okay, so the next question that I got asked a lot was just about how to find roommates in freshman housing, and this is definitely something I was also concerned about, but I talk about it a little bit in my housing video, which I'll have linked up here. Basically, there's a few different ways to find roommates, but you don't actually have to. If you don't want to match yourself with a roommate ahead of time, you can always just go random, and that means that you fill out your housing application, and then there's a little quiz inside the housing application that you fill out with like how clean you like your room, what hours you go to bed, whether you like it quiet, whether you like it loud, all of that kind of stuff. And the university will take those answers and then try to find another student who has entered similar answers to match you with. And so that's kind of how random roommates work, but every person fills out their own housing application and then they use the responses to match. There's also finding your roommate ahead of time and then requesting them on the housing application. So this would be if maybe you're in the Facebook group and you find someone who you really vibe with, you've maybe messaged them a few times and you think you might be good roommates, you can actually request to have each other as roommates, and you can do this even if you're in a triple, you know, all of that, and basically just input their name and their student ID, I think, on your housing application. I'll have the housing page linked below because I don't know how this is gonna work, obviously post-COVID, so all of the stuff I'm talking about is just from my own experience. In any case, I think that both options are equally valid, and there is actually a way okay to request a roommate after you've both submitted your housing application. It's just not like guaranteed. I think it's not even guaranteed if you submit it on your first housing application, but my roommate and I had submitted our housing applications, we got put in the same building, and then we found a third person that was also put in that building that we really vibed with. So we actually requested to be in a room with her after we all had turned in our initial applications, and we did get placed together. So even if you're emailing them after the deadline, there's still a chance, not a guarantee, but a chance that you might still be able to be with that person as a roommate. I've also had friends though that have like fantastic experiences with random roommates, so I'd really say it's kind of up to you and what you're looking to get out of your freshman year housing experience or junior transfers. So this next question that I got asked is probably the most common one that I get asked, and it is the grade deflation really that bad, especially in science courses, and is it discouraging? So it's no secret that Berkeley has grade deflation. I think that it's very much a real thing, but it is super over exaggerated online. I think that a lot of the times people will go online if they've had a particularly bad experience with a course, and so that's kind of the skewed perspective that you're hearing when you're reading all of this online. But there is grade deflation. You do have to really earn your grades at Berkeley, whether that be an A, a B, or a C. You will never get given a grade for no reason. And so I think that can be a little bit of a harsh reality for a lot of people who come in as freshmen after having kind of breezed through high school and not having experienced like the academic rigor of Berkeley yet. But honestly, I think that it's doable. I think that in science courses, it's definitely quite noticeable just because there are a lot of classes that will say this class is curved for better or for worse. And that is a little disheartening to hear, but the majority of my classes have curved for the better, which means like you curve in a way that if someone's grade is like an 85, they would go up to a 90 because you're trying to increase the average. However, there are certain classes to watch out for that curve the opposite way that would take you down. Specifically, Bio 1A is the big one, at least in my major, that everyone talks about. They have huge grade deflation. And I think that definitely taking it in a semester when you're not taking any other technical courses or taking it over the summer can be very beneficial for your GPA and your sanity. But there are obviously lots of other courses and other majors that are just similarly difficult. I think it's all about trying to plan in a way that makes sure that you're poised for success in whatever course. On the whole though, the grade deflation at Berkeley is not as bad as you hear online. Personally, I also haven't found it too discouraging just because everyone is in it together, and so whenever I'm studying and a class is really hard or I'm trying to really work at something, there's always a ton of other students in the exact same boat, and so I found it really enlightening and actually quite encouraging to have other people to study with who are also like, we are going to get a good grade in spite of this. And so that has definitely kind of been my outlook on it, especially being in science. I think that people underestimate the amount of compassion. I don't know how nice people are. I think people just tend to think science and associate people with being cutthroat, but in my experience that has not been the case at all. And my best recommendation for succeeding despite grade deflation is really to be collaborative, form study groups with people that you trust that are going to help you stay on track and help you study, and you should be fine. But also have good planning, make sure that you're really thinking out your schedule and thinking out which classes to take when. So the next question is, how hard is it to get research and job opportunities? So I think that definitely finding job opportunities is really easy in Berkeley. If you're looking for a part-time job, that's totally feasible to do. I've worked, I think, 3 part-time jobs now in college, and all of them have been pretty chill. If you want to work off campus in a restaurant, you can always just go in and ask for a job application. Working on campus is similarly like pretty easy to find jobs, especially if you go through Handshake, which is like LinkedIn specifically for the students. And then there's also a ton of different job opportunities around the city. I think that if you really go in and you are working really hard to try and get jobs, you'll be fine. I think research, people have a lot of worry about just because they know that there's only so many positions for students to do research. However, I think that if you make research a huge priority for you, and if that's something you really want to get out of undergrad, you will be able to find it at Berkeley. You might not get it your first semester, but eventually you will. And there's a lot of different avenues to go down for that. You can do the undergraduate research apprenticeship program, which is also called URAP. And that's basically where you get paired with a professor or like a mentor for the semester, and then you do a research project with them supervising you. And that is a bit competitive just because it is open to all students. It's also all different subjects. So you could do history research, you could do biology research, you could do like economic research. It's really very broad, and so I think a lot of people kind of gravitate towards that. It also can be that you get a URAP project and you only do it for one semester. So if you're looking to be in research for a long time, you really should talk with the person that's interviewing you, talk with the person that has posted it, and just see exactly what they're looking for. There's also department specific research opportunities. So for example, MCB posts this listserv every Friday that has different research opportunities, internship opportunities, like talks and seminars that are coming up. And so I think that getting on that listserv for your department and finding out about all of that can be beneficial, because sometimes those opportunities are not posted on URAP, for example. There's also things like just cold emailing your professors, and so this sounds so scary, but I promise you it's fine, it works. You basically would go find a professor whose research interests you, maybe read a paper or two of theirs, and then send them an email. You can ask to talk with them, you could ask to just meet with them and discuss their research, or to ask if they have any positions in their lab. And that has worked for actually a lot of my friends to find research. So there's really a lot of ways to go about it, but I think that if you make it your main priority, you really commit to the search, you should be fine. A lot of my friends are involved in research and have been involved for a few years and really find it like the very most enriching part, I think, of their undergrad. And the last question for today is one that I love. Somebody commented this on one of my most recent videos, and I thought that this was just such a good question to end with, and that is, when did you first feel the spark or feel content with your decision to attend Berkeley? And so, as you guys might know, if you've watched my previous videos, you'll know that I wasn't attracted to Berkeley initially because I didn't feel like the spark or the warm fuzzy feeling upon first stepping on campus that I was home or at the right place. But for me, this is such a random answer, so I don't know if this is gonna be helpful for you guys, but I committed just because I was like, you know what, they have the best academics for what I want to do, they have really cool programs and really cool research and all of that. And I went there, was excited, you know, about meeting new people. All the people that I had met on the Facebook group just seemed so cool. And I just remember there was this one afternoon my freshman fall where I was walking home from a lecture, and I think I was probably walking either back to my dorm or maybe to my sorority house to go do an activity or hang out or whatever. And I just remember having this feeling of, oh my God, this is it. I am so happy right now. And I remember being on the phone with my mom, and I was just like, I am so happy right now. This is exactly where I want to be. And it's really hard to sum it up, but I think it was just a combination of having met all of these amazing, amazing people and having made such cool, awesome friends at Berkeley, really enjoying the classes that I was taking at the time, and just being in the fall when there's game days happening and there's so much school spirit and everyone is just so outgoing and excited to meet you. I think it was just kind of a culmination of all of those things, and I was just bursting at the seams 3 months into the school year. So don't worry if orientation is overwhelming, if the first few weeks of school you're like, oh my God, I'm in college. It will work itself out, and if it doesn't, there's always the option to transfer. There's always options to help you. So I would say that if at first you don't feel a connection, don't worry, maybe you're just a late bloomer like me, it will come, and if it doesn't, there are options. And with that being said, I think that's all the questions that I got sent. Thank you so much if you were one of the people that commented or DM'd me or asked any questions. I really appreciate it, and comment down below if you have any more questions about Berkeley or the experience. You can also DM me on Instagram. I'm happy to chat, and congratulations if you are an admitted or waitlisted student. I'm so proud of you. Go Bears. Don't forget to like this video if you liked this, and for more videos like this, I'm really hoping to do a lot more vlogs and kind of daily lifestyle videos in the next few weeks following this kind of crazy amount of Berkeley content we've been doing the past month. Also, subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with all of that. Follow me on Instagram to participate in the next Q&A. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!